like to welcome all of you to this session on CAT panel discussion, and we hope that you all are able to gain valuable insights from the same. So I'm Shri Agarwal, and I, along with Shrishti Jain, will be moderating the session for today. So Nelson Mandela has very rightly said that education is the most powerful weapon which one can use to change the world. And there is also no denying the fact that everything seems impossible until it's done. So in today's session, we have 4 panelists from the SRCC alumni to guide us through the journey of preparation for the CAT examination or the common admission test.
To provide a brief overview, the Common Admission Test, popularly known as the CAT, is a computer-based test for admission in a graduate management program, an MBA or a PG diploma in management. The test consists of 3 sections: verbal ability and reading comprehension, data interpretation and logical reasoning, and quantitative ability. The IIM started this exam and used this test for selecting students for their business administration programs. The test is conducted every year by one of the IIMs based on a policy of rotation. We hope that this session is fruitful for all of those SRIs who wish to know in detail about CAT and score flying colors in the same. For this purpose, we have on board our alumni who've attempted CAT and cleared with great percentiles. To provide their valuable insights and guide the aspirants, we have with us today Urvi Mehta, Simran Sohal, Vaibhav Garg, and Abhishek Sancheti.
So Urvi Mehta from the graduating batch of the year 2020 has always been a constant achiever in both extracurriculars as well as academics. She was the chief coordinator of the Commerce Society SRCC for the year 2018-19, and she's also interned at companies like Deloitte and Maricom. Moving on to Simran Sohal, she again is from the graduating batch of the year 2020, and she inculcates the traits of leadership, self-confidence, which again complements her enthusiastic personality. She was the event head for Launchpad at SRCC Business Conclave and also the junior coordinator at the placement cell. And besides, she has interned at the Standard Chartered Bank.
Vaibhav Garg from the graduating batch of 2021 has held several research internships over the years at SR. He was the event head at Business Conclave SRCC, also being a member of 180-degree Consulting and Enactus SRCC. Abhishek Sancheti, who's also from the graduating batch of 2021, he's an FRM charter holder and a rank holder at all levels in academics. He has held numerous accolades in extracurriculars and competitions. He was also the research coordinator at Economic Society and senior coordinator at the Placement Cell SRCC. We shall now start with the session, and any questions whatsoever that the audience has should be put up in the chat box, and we'll address them towards the end of the session.
Okay. So to start on a very lighter note, we would like to request the panelists who have very kindly agreed to be present here to share their reaction once their CAT results were announced. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll go first. My reaction was that I was surprised because not a lot of people know this from my batch or from even the juniors batch. But I was not actually the one person who was, preparing a lot for CAT. It was not something that I was aiming at. I was aiming at placements. I was sitting for placements. I was preparing for interviews. CAT was just like, a side thing that I was doing. And it was just to take experience in the exam and just to test, okay, if in the future, if I have to take this exam, where do I stand? So not a lot of prep had gone into it from my side, but I ended up with a pretty good percentile. And so I was surprised. That was my reaction for the entire day. I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, I think I can take up next. So for me, I was honestly really pleased and happy because a lot of people from my batch know that I had been preparing for CAT, and CAT had been my sole goal from second year onwards. So I think the least to say would be that I was really happy. I was really excited. But again, I would like to highlight one thing here, that usually just 1 or 1.5 weeks after your CAT exams take place, there is an answer key which comes in from the official CAT Institute. So you actually get a rough idea of how much you're going to score through that CAT answer key, even though it doesn't provide you with the percentile, but it provides you with the correct answers versus the answers you've marked. So you get an idea of how much you're going to score, and based on the previous year benchmarks, you can easily identify in what range your percentile will lie. So I sort of had a rough idea of what my percentile is going to be, but again, you can never be sure about CAT and percentiles. So I think I was really pleased and calmed down once I got my final percentile.
So I'll go next. So similar to Simran, I also was not aiming at CAT right from, let's say, second year. I also was aiming at placements, but CAT was something that I took up because I wanted to give it, and I wanted to have that backup plan, or let's say an experience for future preparations. But when I got my result, I was extremely happy. I was, so as Urvi mentioned, you get a fairly accurate idea of how much a percentile is going to be based on your answer key and the percentile predictors that these institutes release. So you get to know within 10, 20, 12 days of your CAT exam that approximately how much percentile you're going to get. So when I got my answer key, I was extremely delighted. I actually wasn't expecting such a great score, and it came as a shock to me as well. But I was just very happy that day. And when we finally got a percentiles, I was actually out with my friends, so we had a blast that day. And I mean, it's a great feeling when you finally see your efforts. I mean, on that sheet of paper with that 99 percentile. So yeah.
I'll just take up. And what I would say is that as Urvi, I was like pretty focused for CAT from my second year itself. And honestly, as Vaibhav and Urvi have mentioned already, that you get a score you get a rough idea of what you have scored, and you can get a rough idea of what percentile you would get. But honestly, on that day, we were not expecting the results to come so early for this year's CAT, for the 2020 CAT. So honestly, I was sleeping and I was like woken up in the middle of my sleep and was told that the results were out. And when I saw the percentile, I was like pretty relieved that all the hard work that I had put in my CAT for the past 6 months had finally paid off. Yes, that was my reaction.
It's great to hear that, and congratulations to all of you guys once again. Moving on to the next question. What career goals or interests do you think align with the CAT or MBA in general? Basically, why would one go for an MBA through CAT?
Well, I guess all of us can present our piece on it, because this is one question which is asked in all MBA interviews, and this is usually known as the make or break. So everyone puts in a lot of thought, and everyone goes in with a different line of reasoning. So see, a business degree, typically MBA is seen as a business degree. It is seen as a way to kind of enhance your profile after graduation, since in India, after graduation, say you get into a job from your college, you get a placement. But then again, after a few years, almost everyone wants to go for an MBA, because it's like a boost to the profile. It gives you a further, a bump to your paycheck, as well as the profile that you hold, as well as the kind of course, the brand value that comes with the name. However, I'll share something interesting here. So when I was preparing for my interviews, I spoke with a lot of seniors, again from the SRCC alumni pool, who were in IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and so on and so forth. And people go in and present all kinds of viewpoints in interviews, and they have different lines of reasoning, and all of them are valid. We have had one senior from SRCC itself who said in his IIM Ahmedabad interview that his goal in life was to be a politician, and he knew that MBA was the way to do it, and he got through. He's in IIM Ahmedabad. I went through the reasoning that my goal in life is to work somewhere in the development space, somewhere in the policy space, and I think a business degree complements my ability, or it would enhance my ability of problem solving, or give me that analytical frame of mind that is required to solve any business problem. That was my bit of reasoning. So I mean, overall, what I'm trying to say is that I guess any line of job or anything, can align with a business degree these days, because the kind of curriculum they have and the kind of pedagogies they have involved are pretty flexible and are very outgoing, you know, from the perspective of the kind of jobs that are there. So it's pretty broad. It's not like, okay, if I just want to do finance or management consulting or marketing, then I should be doing an MBA. Otherwise, I should not be doing an MBA. So that is my viewpoint. I'll let the others chip in here.
No, I think, yeah, Simran's actually covered it pretty correctly. Whatever side you want to go into later on in your career, MBA always just adds to your skill set. I mean, a person, you can open up your own venture, you can open up your own restaurant, you can go into the corporate world. All of these things will require something that you will learn from an MBA. And moreover, MBA is not just about studies or about building up your resume or things like that. It also includes aspects like meeting a peer group who's from a lot of diverse backgrounds. So I know a lot of people who are doctors, and after pursuing their medical career, medical profession for about a couple of years, they've now come to do an MBA. So, I mean, by looking at this example, you can clearly see that no matter what profession you want to enter into or what studies you've done in the past, you can always do a business education and MBA, and you can do it in any field. So, IIMs particularly provide the major fields like marketing, finance, HR, and all of these. But there are a lot of other colleges which have new MBAs in courses like tourism or in courses like medical management. So there are a lot of different MBAs. It just adds on to your skills and just adds on to what you want to do.
So correct. I think Simran and Urvi has covered most of the things. So as Simran mentioned, I also happened to talk to an alumni, and he told me that in his interview, he said that why he's actually going right now is because he's not sure of what he wants to do in the future, and the reason why he's doing an MBA is because the experience that he's had till now, and even in SRCC. I mean, if not all of us, most of us are exposed to either finance or consulting. I mean, that's where everyone wants to be after 3 years of graduation. And he said that, like, I want to explore different fields, and that's what an MBA is going to give me. Because in MBA, finance and consulting is just a fraction or a part of the entire curriculum, and you can do anything that you want to do after an MBA. So it's not that you have to have a fixed plan that, okay, this is what I'm going to do after an MBA. People go for an MBA because they want to experience different fields and figure out that this is what I like and this is what I actually want to do.
Yeah, and I would just like to add one thing here. So a lot of people are also of the perspective that if you continue, if you directly start working after your bachelor's, then within 2 years, wherever you'll reach the same position once you spend 2 years in an MBA college. So basically, people think that doing an MBA for 2 years and then joining corporate versus directly joining corporate after graduation and working for 2 years, it'll land you at the same place. So I mean, this thought a lot of people have, and honestly, even I had a few years back. But just to clarify this, one, the kind of work that you're given after 2 years from both of these situations, that will be different. And secondly, even if that is the same, the slope at which your career will proceed further, the opportunities that open up for you are going to be much wider once you have done an MBA versus once you just with a bachelor's. Because after a certain point, if you've only done a bachelor's, you wouldn't get enough opportunities to rise post one particular position.
All right. Thank you so much for such great details and insights. So moving on, so when did you all start preparing for your CAT examination? And what, according to you, would you recommend to any aspirant looking forward? So is there like any ideal time frame when a student or an aspirant looking forward to score well must, start for the same? So if you could offer some tips on the same.
So I'll take this question. So I don't think there's an ideal time for CAT. I mean, it's better like as soon as you start, it's better. The more time you have, it's better because CAT is at least my experience with this that it's more about practice and it's not about a particular curriculum that you have to cover. So the more you practice, the better you'll probably end up scoring you're at least increasing your chances. But there have been people who've cracked the exam with 1 month of preparation. There have been people who haven't been able to crack the exam with 12 or 15 months of preparation. So it's all about your own, how serious you are about the exam, how much time do you think you require. I personally joined the institute back in November. So I had 12 months of preparation, but to be honest, I actually started preparing only after my May exams. So after the fourth semester exams, the last 5 or 6 months were the actual preparation that really went into it. So there's no time frame that I would like to put in it. Whatever you think you can manage, that will be, I think, the ideal time frame.
Yeah, I think I can just add on to what has already been said by Vaibhav. So just a small thing here, just be clear about your goal during and your other commitments during your time frame of CAT preparation. So for example, a lot of people, they also want to do an internship after their second year. So that internship period and the CAT preparation period, both of these actually coincide. So if you are very sure that you also want to do an internship, then just take those 2 months also into consideration, that during those 2 months, I wouldn't be preparing for CAT, I'll be doing my internship. Or maybe similarly, somebody might have some other kind of commitments, some PORs in their second year or in their third year. So just take into consideration the other things that you have along with CAT preparation and plan your timing accordingly.
And personally, for me, I think I started in January itself, but my thorough practice and like the really intense preparation started from April.
Yeah, so I'll just add one small point to all that has been said, and I agree with all that has been said. First of all, what is important is that, everyone who takes CAT should know what their target percentile is. So like if your target percentile is 99 plus and you guys are sure that, okay, I want to be somewhere in the top 3 IIMs, wherein you typically get a call at a 99 plus or something like that. So if that is the target, then start early, start smart, and start with conceptual preparation. Because I think, say if in a mock you get a 90 percentile, so going from the 90 percentile to a 95 percentile is more about clarifying more concepts and solving more questions. Going from a 95 percentile or 96 percentile to a 99 percentile is actually about how well are you able to tackle the paper. So CAT prep is not just about studying what syllabus or curriculum is expected that will come in the paper. It's also about tackling it, because ultimately the results are going to be in the form of a percentile, which is like relative grading. So you have to be better than the rest of the pool of people who will be taking CAT, and that will require solving a lot of mock papers and sitting down to analyze where you spent more time than you should have, and where you could have actually not gone wrong, or how to make intelligent guesses in the paper. So all this should be kept towards, I would recommend that it should be kept towards the end of the prep. Somewhere from the middle to the end is the period wherein you do this, and before that you start with conceptual clarity, and now it depends on your general aptitude, on how good you are with all these three sections, that how much time would you actually require to capture that conceptual clarity. So if you're already very good at aptitude, just start with mocks, learn how to tackle the paper, go give CAT. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get a good percentile. So it's not like you need to go through the entire 12-month process to do it. It's relative, and it works differently for everyone.
Moving on to the next question. We know that a lot of work goes behind the entire exam in general, but they may or may not vary across the sections. So, what is the section-wise prep strategy for the CAT?
Um, I think I'll just take a short while on that. So, um, one, obviously, this strategy was specific to what I adopted and may vary person to person. But basically, for me, so I'll talk about English at the end because that's something which is completely a little different from the other two sections. So DILR and Quant, these two sections are sections where you need a lot of practice, and it's not just about doing all the topics or all the concepts. It's also about identifying your strong areas, the areas where you can solve the questions the fastest. So the first thing is to identify whether you are it's not like you do well in really well in one section and you do average in the other section and you're sorted. But it wouldn't work that way, because all of the sections, they have their individual cutoffs as well, their sectional cutoffs as well. So you need to qualify all the cutoffs in order to get your required calls or your desired calls. So you need to be thorough with every section individually. But again, in addition to that, identify which section out of quant and DILR is the one where you're more confident with and you're stronger with. So initially in that particular section, I think you don't need to spend as much time as you require in the others. Just try and give as many mock AIMCATs or CL mock exams or any other coaching classes mock exams that you can give for that particular section. So say I'm good with quant, I feel that I know all the concepts pretty well and everything. So there I can directly go into giving mocks. I don't really need to practice a lot of questions from practice books or things like that. I can just give mocks and polish my speed, polish my strategy of taking the paper. But for the other section, say DILR, where I'm not really confident, that section I feel the most important thing would be to attend every coaching class. If you're taking a coaching, attend every coaching session really nicely, revise the notes that have been given in the coaching class really well, because I think the coaching notes, they really help you to build up your concepts, and especially when you've attended the classes, it adds a lot to your overall understanding. So just really well, just revise the notes really well, and then either do a lot of practice questions from the practice books or go into giving the mock exam, so that you can choose based on the time you have. But it's important to identify which section you need more help with. So that'll basically depend person to person. And for English, for the people who are little confident with English, who feel their communication is pretty good, I think English is a section where you don't really require that much of an effort, because English is something that'll usually come in naturally. Like, you just have to read the comprehensions and you have to try and understand what the writer is trying to tell you. So the only thing that you require in English is to build up one, your concentration, because there are around five comprehension sets that come in the paper. So sitting together for 1 hour reading all of those five long comprehensions of about 600 to 700 words each, that is what requires the maximum effort. So just try and build up your concentration level and your ability to read fast, because you have limited time but you have a lot of passages to read. So you just need to build upon your speed and your comprehend and your ability to focus. um from vocabulary point of view, CAT is a paper which usually does not have very hard vocabulary. Like CAT versus GMAT, GMAT always has a lot of difficult vocabulary and people really prep up for vocabulary words. But CAT is a paper where they wouldn't really ask you very difficult words, and they usually don't ask you outright questions based on the meaning of particular words. So you don't need to specifically sit down, rote memorize different words and everything. You can just build upon your ability to comprehend and your speed of reading in English.
Yeah, just I'll add on just one point here, and then I guess Abhishek and Vaibhav can take up, because I started prep pretty late and I didn't prep as much, and I didn't join any coaching institute because I didn't feel like I should. It was just a mock attempt on my end. What I did was I had an old teacher who I was in touch with, and he used to have all this material for CAT. So he just told me to take topic tests first. So since I did not have a lot of time for prep, he said, Max, okay, say these are the 15 concepts that get asked. There's a test on each of these concepts, short tests, 20, 30 questions each. Take the topic test. So I took those topic tests, which helped me analyze the same thing that Urvi said, which concepts or which sections require me to focus more vis-a-vis the other sections. So I analyzed, okay, what is weak, what is strong. That was done. That is what I did for QA. LRDI, again, it's about practice. LRDI, not a lot of concepts, but more of practice, because questions typically appear in sets. And if you get the set wrong, if you say there's an arrangement question, if you get the arrangement wrong, you'll get all 6 questions wrong, which is something which is not recommended in LR. It can take away your percentile by a lot, just one set. So it's more about sitting and practicing, and same goes for VA. English, I have always believed, is not something which can be just prepared for in a test. You can polish your skill during your preparation, but you cannot really, prepare for it like you can do in QA and LRDI. So if, and moreover, communication is something which is not going to just help you in CAT, but everywhere, in placement interviews, internship interviews, furthermore in your jobs. So work on developing communication as a whole in your entire graduation years, rather than just keeping it for your CAT prep. So yeah, that's my thing. That's what I did.
I'll just take it from here. I think that there's a one very underrated skill in CAT that we like have to like achieve, is that you should not know only what questions you have to attempt, but you also have to be pretty clear on what questions you do not attempt, because that is one skill that can make or break your CAT, right? Because, and why are we insisting on like practicing questions or like solving as many questions as you can? Because in sections like quant, you have to identify which areas are your strongest and which areas are like your weakest, in which you can like just see the question and know that this is something that I will take like 5 minutes to do and I have to skip this question. Because if you can like get that skill, that you can like see the question and know that you cannot do it, or you, it will take a lot of time to and you have to skip it, that is a very important skill that you have, that you will like achieve. It will save you precious time and it will allow you to like attempt more questions and like score more. Because remember, like you do not have to do each and every question correctly to like get a 99 plus percentile in each and every section. You have to only ensure that you get 50% of the questions right, assuming that you do not make any mistakes. So let's say for a 3-hour paper, a 34 question, 1 hour section of quant, you have to only attempt and correctly to 17 questions. That gives you a 17 question buffer. So you have to ensure that that you generate that skill, you practice so much that you know which area is my strongest, which questions I have to attempt and which questions I have to leave, to ensure that you get a very good score and a very good percentile in each of the sections. For LRDI, the same thing, you have to understand which sets you are strong in and which sets you are weak in. If you're like strong in, let's say, a combination type or the circle things, or like sets, you need to know that which areas are your strongest and which sets you have to achieve, which sets you have to do. Because understand, like let's say in a 1 hour LRDI paper, you will get 8 sets and you have to do 4 of them correctly to get a 99 plus percentile score. But each set requires 10 minutes at least to complete it, right? So that means that you have to spend 40 minutes at least to get 4 sets correctly, which gives you a 20-minute buffer, which means that you can only like attempt and you can only do, there is a possibility of only one mistake. And because after that there is no hope, because if you do more than one mistakes in like sections like LRDI, or you mess up more than one set, then there is a very strong chance that you won't get a very good score. And this is for a 3-hour paper. In our paper, the possibility of making a mistake was even less, because the time was reduced to 40 minutes and the section, and we were only given like 5 sets. So that increases the chances, like that reduces the chances of making mistakes. So you have to ensure that you practice so much that you know which sets you have to attempt and which sets you do not attempt. For English, I think this is something that you have to ensure that your base is very strong in English. And by base, what I mean is that your inferential skills, meaning that when you read the comprehension, you understand what the passage is trying to say, not from your perspective, from what author is trying to convey to you. If you're understanding that thing, that is the main thing or main key to crack CAT for VA section. Because even if you join the very best of institute, they themselves say that they cannot increase your English proficiency by more than 10%. So it's up to you. In VARC, the most important thing is to like practice as much as you can, work on your inferential skills, see the type of questions that you're getting in RCs, how to crack them, read each and every sentence word by word to ensure what the author is trying to convey. And I think that will like make us very strong base for you in VARC. I think this is what I have to say, if Val wants to add something to it.
Yeah, I think so. I'll just share my personal experience, some of the difficulties that I faced and how I overcame it in each of these sections. So for VA, I remember that I struggled a lot with RCs in the beginning. And what I was struggling with was essentially when I used to read the passage the first time, I could not comprehend what the meaning was. And because of that, I had to sometimes reread the passage or a particular paragraph. And that used to take up a lot of time. And so the way I tackled that problem was to first forget thinking about how much time I'm spending on a particular RC, but to just make sure that even if I'm reading slowly, I'm able to comprehend that paragraph in one go. And once I achieved that, I started increasing the speed at which I was reading. So, I mean, in CAT, there is very less time. And if you have to reread some of the passages because you weren't able to comprehend it in the first time that you read it, you might be short on time. So that's something that I did, and it really helped me even in the final exam. For LRD, I think everyone has talked about mostly it like the most important part is figuring out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and just sticking to your strengths. Because as Abhishek said, you just have to attempt 50 to 60% of your paper and get that correct to get a 99% right. So you don't have to be correct on everything. You don't have to know everything that's there in the syllabus for both quant and LRDI. So yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Just a small addition I would like to make. This is particularly pertaining to the quant section. So, if you analyze a few past year papers, you will realize that there are few topics such as time, speed, distance, time, and work, and a couple of more topics which you can easily identify once you see any past year paper analysis. These topics cover up a majority of the portion of that section of the quant section. So a lot of questions out of the entire paper in quant come from these topics. So I would say that try and identify these topics which are the most important ones, and definitely spend a lot of time becoming really proficient in those areas, because those, if you're good with those areas, a lot of your questions are already taken care of.
So just to add to Urvi's point, so in quant section there are topics like trigonometry, probability, which are a part of the syllabus, but max to max there will be two questions out of that particular topic, right? And so instead of spending 5 or 6 hours on that particular topic where you have no clue about which you last studied in class 10, you can use those 5 6 hours on strengthening the arithmetic topics which take up 50% of the paper. So that's I mean, we cannot stress the importance of identifying the correct questions that you have to attempt and the correct questions that you have to leave. I mean, that if you get that right, half of your problems are going to be solved.
All right, thank you so much for such details. So we have already covered the section-specific preparation strategies. So moving on to the next question, we would like you guys to address if there is like a general preparation strategy coming to the test series and analysis of the same. So are there any recommendations that you would like to make? Are there any self-study tips that you would like to share, as in how should a student, go about choosing a reliable test series on the internet, or once he has done so, how should he analyze his mocks? And related preparation strategies. Yeah.
So with regards to the mock series, I'll just share my personal experience. So I think the three oldest institutes are Career Launcher, Time, and IMS, and I gave mocks of all three. Like some mocks of all three. So my experience was that Time probably has mocks that are a little more difficult as compared to the other institutes. IMS and CL mocks are easier as compared to the time mocks, but there's no best institute for a mock. I mean, mocks is something that, I mean, like it's another thing that you just cannot get enough of in CAT. You have to give as many mocks as you can, and you have to focus on analyzing those mocks as well. So if you're spending 3 hours on giving a mock, you have to spend another 3 or 4 hours on analyzing that mock itself, because you are actually going to get more value out of analyzing the mock than uh, the value that you've gotten probably giving that mock. Because while analyzing the mock, you figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, where could you have done better, why did you particularly went wrong on this question, or even if you got that question right, was there a faster way in which I could have solved that question? So I actually identified this a lot in the quant section, where even the questions which I got right, I realized that there are ways, there are shortcuts that are given, let's say in the solutions, through which I could have probably solved that question within 30 seconds, whereas I spent 5 minutes solving that same question. So analyzing the mocks is something that that is very important, and I think everyone here will agree on that.
Beneficial thing in giving mocks and tests is that like you can analyze your VA section, VARC section, which cannot be like practiced per se, like in you cannot do questions or stuff like that outside the mocks or tests. The number of mocks and tests you give, you will help that will help you in understanding what the strengths are in your VARC and where the weaknesses lies in your VARC. The number of reading comprehensions that you give in your mocks, that will help you understand what the type of questions that you are like getting, how do you how have you answered those questions, where did you went wrong, what mistakes were there in your understanding of the passage and understanding of the questions, and that can help you prepare better for the upcoming CAT. In LRDI section, I think what mocks helps you is that it gives, because it is a constrained test that you are giving, you have only 1 hour to solve. It helps you with the speed and efficiency in like choose, it helps you in understanding which sets you have to choose, and helps you in like ensuring that you do the sets as quickly as possible while ensuring that you are doing it correctly. And for arithmetic, I think, as Vaibhav rightly said, it helps you understand which questions you have to leave and which questions you have to attempt. And if you are like attempting a question, and even though you're getting it right, is there a faster way to do it? Was there some conceptual mistake that I made? Does this concept need more clarity and stuff like that? So yeah.
Just a small add-on to what already Abhishek and Vaibhav have mentioned. So I totally agree with what they've said. Just in addition to that, I would personally recommend that you at least take up mock series from two different institutes, be it any institute, Time, CL, IMS, or any other institute that you feel you want to, but at least take the test series from two different institutes. So the test series usually start around February of the year when you're going to give the CAT. So that time initially you can just take one series, and somewhere around June, July, August, you should try and take up the mock series from one more institute as well, because different institutes mock series emphasize more on different topics. So during my time when I was preparing for CAT, the Time mock series, the questions they had in quant were really nice, whereas in the CL's mock series, the questions they had in DILR were really nice. So you can actually get a good idea of different levels of questions and different types of questions if you do at least two different types of mocks.
Yeah, I'll just add on not so much to the strategy part of it, but a more general note on. So what will happen is that, once you set your goal that okay, CAT is something, MBA is something that I want to do, and I'll be taking this year's CAT. There'll be a lot of other issues as well that will be happening. Something that Urvi mentioned, that you need to sort out your commitments in terms of your PORs, in terms of internships. Should I go? Should I not go? you know all these kind of things, and it will become important that you talk to someone who has been through the process. So my one tip is that please have a senior or someone who has been through the same process, who has been successful at his or her attempt, is in a good IIM, or is where you want to be, and talk to them on a regular basis. And uh, as everybody would say, diversify in terms of what kind of exposure you are getting in terms of mocks and everyone. Do not diversify in terms of the advice you are getting from the person. Have the one point person who you trust more than anything else, and take their advice. Because if you start listening, or if you start going on the internet and reading everything that is available uh, on Quora or any other platform which discusses CAT and such exams, or if you start going and talking to about 10 different seniors, in the end you will waste a lot of time just trying to analyze and just trying to see what to pick up from whom. So have the one point person who can tell you what it is that you need to do. and how you need to do it, whose advice you would trust. And second of all, I guess the general note that I would say is that in terms of preparation, just don't uh, immerse yourself so much that you miss out on a few other opportunities as well. If you're taking CAT in the last year of college is extremely special. All of us who haven't been to college in the last year can tell you. So take immerse into that as well, and all these strategies and everything that you are doing, just trust that okay, this is going to work out. Don't try to, I mean, I say this because I had this one person, I had my one teacher who I was talking to all the time while I was preparing for CAT, and I was not taking any advice from anyone else. So I was clear that okay, whatever he says or whatever my teacher says is something I'm going to follow to the word. And
All the points make a lot of sense. Moving on, what was your last month revision strategy for the preparation? Kindly share certain do's and don'ts for the same.
yeah, one thing that I did was I sat down with a teacher, and I attempted my paper in front of him. So how this helps is, this helped me to, when he saw me attempting the paper, he observed a few things, and then he told me that okay, this is the portion where you spend a lot of time, or this is the portion wherein you should be able to make an intelligent guess, or this is the portion where you need to skip. So as all of us are mentioning, that CAT is not about getting everything right, it is about getting what you know right, and in a limited time frame. So there are a lot of constraints working on you in that 3 hours, or the 2 hours, whatever the pattern will be, this year onwards. So I needed to learn how to tackle the paper more than anything else. I think what worked for me was that I knew that okay, this is what I need to skip, this is where I need to make a guess, this is where I know 50-50, okay, how to make an intelligent guess. That is what came out of that attempt. So one time I did this, I attempted one paper sitting alongside my teacher, like a proper mock, but he kind of observed on what I was doing. So I had that luxury of having that teacher who did that for me. If you have that, great. Get a senior to do it, get a teacher from a coaching institute to do it. That is what I did in my last month, and I just took mocks from different places so that I can get exposure to different kinds of questions, and that was it. Like that was my strategy. Plain and simple. I think all the rest three can probably talk about this better since they prepared for longer times.
So my last month strategy, I mean, there was no proper last month strategy that I thought of that, okay, in the last 30 days, I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z, these three things. I just gave mocks till the last week. And the last 5, 6 days, I honestly did nothing. I mean, the last mock that I gave was 1 week before the actual exam. And I mean, that's something that I would honestly recommend, because if in the last week of the exam, you give a mock and you do not score well, you might come under pressure. You might be like, okay, I'm not going to perform well. So I personally did not do that. I gave my last mock a week back, and I did nothing after that. So the first 20, 25 days, the last 20, 25 days before the exam, I just gave mocks and revised the concepts that I thought were a little weak. So certain shortcuts, certain formulas, calculations, how can I make my calculations faster? So squares, um, uh, the square roots, how the cube roots, cubes, all these basic things, areas of geometry, all these things. So just a revision of all these things and mocks. There was no proper strategy that I followed. Yeah.
I think I was a little different here. So there were a couple of things that I had in mind that I'll do only in the last month before the CAT exam. So one thing, so firstly, I had decided, and I also did this. I gave actual past year CAT papers for past 2 to 3 years in the last month. So I did not give these papers earlier during my preparation. I gave them in the last month because these are the papers that are the closest to the actual paper you will face, because these are actual past year papers. So one, I gave those papers, I think about 2 weeks before the actual CAT exam. The second thing that I did in the last month before the exam was to revise all the formulae. So I had prepared a formulae book with me right from the beginning itself, wherein topic wise I had all the important formulae, and this was particularly relevant for quant because quant has a lot of formulae. So I revised all of those formulae about 3 4 days before the actual final CAT paper, just to ensure that I remember all of them. And I think these were the two main things that I did before in the final month. One small thing that I also did was, and this is actually optional, it's not compulsory. I mean, I wouldn't really say that you must do it, but if you want, you can either bookmark or keep a note of some questions from the mocks you've given, which you feel are questions which aren't really that difficult, but they have a little bit of trick. And if you know that trick, you can solve them within 30 seconds. And if you feel that these questions are the ones which are quite possible to come in the actual paper itself also. So as in when you give more mocks, you'll realize what are the kind of questions that have a higher probability of coming in the actual paper also. You'll get a fair idea of that. So just either bookmark those questions on the website itself or make a note of those questions somewhere. And around 2 3 weeks before the final paper, just quickly browse through those questions to have a final glance at them and ensure that you know how to proceed with each one of them. So these are just 2 3 things you should actually try and do in the last month before your CAT. And along with that, I would say that the most important thing, especially in the last week before CAT, is to stay calm. Because as and when the D-Day is going to approach, your anxiety levels are going to increase like anything. You will feel like you're not being able to sleep at night. You will feel like you're being really scared. You're being really paranoid. So it's, and even your coaching teachers or the people whom you're taking mentorship from, they'll also tell you that your anxiety levels will increase, your pressure will increase. But just try your best to stay really positive, to stay really calm, because your calmness can make a lot of difference on the D-Day. It can actually be a make or break thing. And also try and surround yourself with people who are positive and who believe in you. So don't be in between among people who doubt you, or who will tell you that you haven't done enough, you haven't studied enough, will you be able to do it. Never surround yourself with those kind of people in the last 1 or 2 weeks before your CAT paper, because that really brings down your morale. Just surround yourself with people who really believe in you and who are themselves really positive that TK will see whatever happens, and we're sure that since we've put in so much of hard work, our efforts will give us a good fruit.
Yeah, I'll just everything has been covered. I'll just add a little bit. Like Urvi, I also had a formula book which I had maintained from the starting, and it's particular for quant, which I revised in my last month, and I believed in giving mocks like as many mocks as I can. And apart from this, what one specific thing that I did was that because of the COVID and everything, I had online classes, right? I think most of you who are like in now in the third year, who are going to go in third year, will also have online classes. So what one thing that I could do was that I could see all the videos, all the uh, videos of like all the quant sessions once again. So I thought that that was very, very immensely helpful, because in when we see a class once, or like when we go through a class once, we cannot really understand what the teacher is like saying, because he says stuff like that this question is important for CAT, or this is the trick. We only get it 50% at that time. But actually once you do all the practice and you give the mocks, and when you see the video once again, then your concept is like 100% clear. You know why the teacher is saying so, which questions are important, and that helps is like in increasing confidence as well and increasing concept clarity as well. So if you have like online classes, and if you can take a benefit of this advantage, this is one thing that I would recommend you should do.
Thank you so much, seniors, for sharing the same. So moving on, this topic again has been covered to some extent, but again, if you could just give some details on the same. What, according to you, should an aspirant go for? Like, is it that you recommend self-study or you recommend coaching, and or maybe an integration of both? And why do you feel so? Please, if you could just also mention the reason behind the same.
Okay, so again, I didn't take coaching, and the reason was that I decided to appear for CAT pretty late. And also, uh, while in my 12th standard, after my 12th standard, when my boards were done, I took a few undergrad management exams like, JAT and Integrated Program in Management from IIM Indore, which are also aptitude exams. And I had prepared a lot then. So since, those 2-3 months for me were like free after boards, I wasn't doing anything. So I focused those 2-3 months on preparing for these exams. So I had a fair idea of how aptitude exams work. And CAT is just like a lot levels difficult. That is true. But the pattern and the entire process is kind of same if you just break it down. So for me it was self study again, because again, if you have access to a senior or a teacher and you have access to the right resources, it will not make a difference if you are going to the coaching. See, if your aptitude, and of course, if you know how the process works, how aptitude exams work, you think your aptitude levels are fairly above average, I don't think going to coaching will make a lot of difference as long as you have access to the right resources and you are taking a lot of mocks. Mock exams are not to be compromised on in any scenario. They have to be taken as many as you can and in a proper planned manner. But otherwise, like, self study worked for me. So I was able to, I had access to things and I could do it. But if not, then you will need someone to tell you how to go about it. And I think there are a lot of coaching institutes and teachers who do that. So again, whatever combination, if you have the right access, you think your aptitude is fairly good, you can manage it, you can take it without coaching as well. I mean, like, as a matter of fact, not to compare, but a lot of engineers, they just go and sit in the exam and get a 99 percentile plus just because their aptitude is stronger. It's not that they have to, put themselves through the coaching process to get there. They are naturally built that way. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you think that that is the case for you, then without coaching also you'll be able to get a 99 percentile plus. It's not a problem.
My view is a little different here. Again, it depends person to person and individual to individual. But I took a coaching, and I personally feel that taking a coaching does help you more than self study for a couple of reasons. One, it makes you regular in your preparation because you know that you have to attend the class thrice a week or 4 times a week and at this particular time. So it just makes you regular while preparing for CAT, and you have that pressure in your head that, okay, I have a coaching, I need to do this assignment, I have a coaching, I need to cover this topic. So it just maintains your flow throughout the preparation period, because the preparation period is just not a period of a month or of a couple of weeks. It actually lasts for about 6 to 8 to 12 months depending on person to person. So it's a long time duration. It's important that you stay consistent throughout this period. So coaching helps you in staying consistent and regular. And also I feel that the teachers that you get in coaching classes, um, there's certain teachers, the certain coaching teachers who actually are so good that when you attend their class, about 60% of your concept clarity and your preparation is done in the class. So whatever you need to do after that is just the remaining 40%. Especially, I'm not really sure, since I took time in coaching from Time, I know about Time. So Time has a special elite batch for students from SRCC, Stephens, and I think a couple of more colleges in North Campus. And the teachers that they give to these batches, they are really good. So the way they teach you, the topics they cover, they're exactly from the point of view of CAT and a 99 percentile or a plus sort of a situation. So the kind of topics that they cover, the way they teach in, it's really such that 60 to 65% of your learning will happen in the class, and then you just need to focus on the practice bit once you go back home. So this is what my personal opinion would be here.
So, as Urvi mentioned, I joined the coaching classes back in November, and there were just two reasons why I joined it. First, the same as Urvi mentioned, regularity, because it's very difficult to be disciplined on your own. I mean, if you can be, then that's great. But if you cannot be, a coaching class definitely helps you in bringing that regularity. So that was the first thing. Second was the resources that these institutes offer in terms of the lectures. But because of the COVID lockdown, our classes actually got suspended in the month of February. And from March onwards, there were essentially no classes that happened. I also relied primarily on the online recorded lectures. So I like 90% of my preparation was actually self study, even though I had joined a coaching institute. That was primarily because of an unexpected circumstance. But I believe these are the two main advantages that a coaching institute offers: regularity and resources. If you think you can get access to resources apart from joining an institute, there's no need to join an institute for the resources. If you think you can be disciplined enough to regularly make yourself sit for an hour or 3 days in a week or 4 days in a week and have that particular time allotted for CAT in your schedule, then again, I believe there's no need for a coaching institute. You can do it with self study as well.
I concur with Vaibhav and Urvi. See, CAT, I believe, is 90% self study, and it's all the hard work and the amount of practice that you put in. What coaching helps, as has already been mentioned by Urvi and Vaibhav. I think the difference between a coaching and a non coaching student would be like a 0.5 percentile or a 1 percentile difference, because like they do have some access and like their teachers are like teaching for 20-30 years, so they do know some tips and tricks which you can't get like if you are not in a coaching institute, if you're not in an institute, and if you're self-studying. So I think that difference, especially in quant, I would not say that it matters a lot in VARC or LRDI, but in quant, yeah, I think it matters somewhat, because they know some tips and tricks which can help you like solve the paper faster. So there can be some percentile difference. Apart from that, it's like entirely it's your self study and what amount of practice you can put in.
Okay, now I think this is one of the most frequently asked questions by any SRI. How do you manage college, other commitments like internships, PORs, along with your CAT preparation?
So actually, I believe I and Abhishek were very lucky in this regard because we did not have college to attend regularly because of the lockdown, as well as our internships were from home. So I think Urvi and Simran would be better able to answer this question.
Yeah, so I think this is one question which is actually pretty close to my heart, I would say, and I often take it personally. But you know, a lot of people have asked me this question during their preparation, and the one thing that I say in the beginning is it's going to be the best if you have your vision and your goal clear. If you know you want to do an MBA directly after college, if you know MBA is your sole goal, CAT is your sole aspiration, then I would say just disregard all the pressure you get from college, from in terms of the pressure I'm talking about is not in terms of academics. The pressure I'm talking about is in terms of placements or internships, because being SRItes, I think all of you know that the environment that we are in, it's really competitive and everybody wants to get that A1 placement, that A1 internship. Everybody wants to get a campus internship. Everybody wants to be placed in that A1 consulting firm or that finance firm and everything. And it's actually pretty good also. And the competition is really healthy. But if your sole motive, your sole intention is to crack CAT in the first attempt, I would say just put in your heart and soul into it and don't think about the placement process or the internship process. Just deep dive yourself into CAT preparation. But again, this is only when you clearly know that you only want to give CAT and you want to crack it at any cost. But if you are a little confused and if you feel I can also do an MBA, I can also take a placement, I can do anything, then I think it's a little trickier. There you need to figure out how much time you want to devote to which thing. So for placements, for consulting placements particularly, people given a lot of months for case prep, for guesstimate prep and everything. So I think in that situation you'll have to divide your time. You'll have to see that, okay, fine, maybe 7 days out of a week, 3 days I'll give to preparing for cases, guesstimates, and other 4 days I'll wholeheartedly give into CAT preparation. You can sort of make your compromises in this way and try and give your attention to both of these things, and just try and get a placement as soon as possible, because once you're done with the placement, that thing is out of your head and now you only have to focus on CAT. So you need to divide your time that way. And as Simran mentioned, from academics point of view, I think academics does take a little backseat in your fifth semester, particularly because fifth semester is the time when majorly you have a lot of pressure from CAT point of view. So academics definitely takes a backseat. You usually don't end up going to a lot of classes. So I mean, I think it's fine. A lot of teachers do understand that, and it's just important to submit your assignments on time. And other than that, you can always take notes from the photocopy from the Xerox shop, or from your friends or things like that. So just work out your dynamics that way. And because obviously no human can deep dive into everything, right? So just make your arrangements in that way, that okay, fine, I'll just take notes and study towards the end of my examinations and things like that. So I think then it'll be fine. But the best thing is if you are clear of what you want to do, so that you can put in your 100% into that particular thing.
I'll just add like one very small thing to this, whatever Urvi said, because so what happens is that, so since, as she mentioned that we are SRIs, we are exposed to this intense internship and placement scene right from first year, end of first year, start of second year. There will be this inherent need to keep a backup option, which is understandable and which is good. You've come to a very good college, you want a backup. You don't want to end up doing nothing for a year, which is fine. A lot of people will have this. So in that case, if you know that okay, I will want to sit for placements, and say consulting or finance is my uh, top choice, and these are the top companies, you do have an idea now. By now you'll have an idea that okay, which firms are are likely to come for placements by when. So if not, talk to seniors, they'll have an idea, right? So once if you think that this is something that you want to do, that you need to get a placement, so that if you don't make it through CAT, or if even if you crack CAT and you don't make it to your dream college, you can go back to a placement for a year or 2 years. Best advice in that case would be to start early. Start your CAT prep early, front load all your work to that time. So, and stick with your schedule. That discipline is something that you will have to instill into yourself, because nobody can help you. Coaching institutes can help you be regular, but you giving your 100% in that time is something that you have to work on. So if that is the case, if you know that you will be focusing on two things, just understand academics from college point of view will take a backseat, and it's always best to front load your work. Start your CAT prep at a good enough early time. As Urvi mentioned, if you know, okay, internship is also something which will happen for 2 months, discount for those 2 months, start 1.5 to 2 months earlier, front load all that work, so that you are not stressed. Because if you are stressed, you will end up spoiling your placement interviews and your CAT prep, and then everything will go downhill. So make your focus areas clear, and then try to prioritize and kind of front load work is
I'll
what I
just I'll just add one small point. Like I completely agree 100% with what Urvi and Simran has said. I'll just add that you should have a pretty clear, like in your mind, you should have a pretty clarity on what companies you are targeting. See which companies you are targeting, how their placement process are, what are the shortlist, what shortlists like they have, what is their criteria and stuff like that. Just figure it out with the seniors, see what your chances are, and then like have a very clear like idea in mind that which company you want to target, and then devise a strategy like in that manner. Give some time for CAT, give some time for placements. Like speaking for me personally, I knew that I had some pitfalls in my like CV. So I knew that in top 5 consulting, I won't have a chance. So I did not give that much time for like preparing case study and guesstimates and stuff like that. I did prepare, but I did not give that much time, and it focused more on CAT. And then the companies that I was targeting came, then I gave a pretty good amount to the placement process. And I would say that once if you are like dicey between placements and CAT, and let's say you have got a placement and you end up like giving CAT and not scoring that well, and you are thinking of like giving CAT to 1 or 2 years after your like the college and like having some work ex, I would suggest that you like try try and like cover as much cat you can, like study for cat as much as possible in your 6th semester after your placements and stuff have been done, because once you start working, I think you won't be able to like get that much amount of time or put that effort into studying for cat what you can do in your free time, let's say in the 6th semester. So I think, yeah, that's important.
Considering that time management is definitely very important, the tips were really valuable, seniors. Thank you for the same. Moving ahead to a very personal question. We know that during the preparation of CAT and while managing everything together, things can get pretty overwhelming. A lot of moments can be very stressful for like the people who are preparing for the same. So, what is it that kept you motivated to keep going and like achieve the same?
Yeah, I'll just take up this question because, like, I think I have a very clear cut philosophy in this matter, which is to give my 100% in whatever I do. Like, if I'm studying for CAT, I just want to ensure that I give my 100%. Because, like, let's say if you tell Einstein to be a cricketer, he cannot do that, right? He is a physicist. The most that he can do is like give his 100% in trying out cricket, and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So if, let's say, out of the 112 people or 111 people that are like listening right now, it's important that when you like, if you're like studying for cat or you're giving your cat examinations, it's important that you give your 100%, because that if you give your 100%, you would know that after giving the examination, is cat really for me or not? Am I to do a management or an IIM from the cat itself, or should I take another route? Because that options would be pretty clear. If you like give your cat half-heartedly or 80-90, if you put in 80-90% of effort, then after cat, if you do not score that much what you were expecting, there will always be a little like thing in your heart that knowing, oh, if I could have given another 10%, or if I could have studied for 2 days more or 3 days more. So I think that that regret should not be there in your mind. If you're like studying for cat, just give it your 100%. This is what I had did. I just gave all out I just gave all out efforts for my cat. I gave my 100%, and after the examination I was pretty chill, like this is what most I could have done for cat. I have now given my cat examinations. If I score, it's well and good. If I do not score, it's well and good then also.
Yeah.
So
So
go
sorry,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for me, it was just regular breaks, honestly, which helped me get, or let's say, just release the pressure that was building up. So I made sure that my Sundays are free. I did not do anything on the Sundays or just one day of the week, and be it placements, be it cat, that just one day every week was just for me. I just did whatever I wanted to. I did not care about, okay, I mean, I'm losing out on some kind of preparation, because I knew that this kind of relaxation is required for me to, peak at the right time. And if you start exhausting yourself right from, let's say, March, you will get exhausted by the time you have to give your exam. So I would say that you have to plan your preparation in a manner that you peak your preparations at the right time. And for me, that happened just before, like after my exam. So August, September, October were the 3 months which were primarily the peak of my study. Before that, it was chill, I would say. Uh, give as much time as I can, but not stress about it, because I know that I have still 3 months left in which I can cover up for something that I'm not doing right now. But you have to plan your preparation, and that is something that is completely personal. If you think that you can peak for 5 months, start putting 100% or 120% of effort right from today onwards. But if you think that, okay, 2 months is the time where I can probably spend 8 to 10 hours a day just studying for CAT, and after 2 months I won't be able to, I'll get exhausted, then time that. So just figure out what is the right time for you to max out on your energy and do it.
Yeah. So I'll just take a more generalistic viewpoint here, like not just in terms of cat prep, but in general how final year, fifth semester is stressful for all of us. So understand that it is stressful for everyone. everyone who is getting shortlist is stressed, everyone who is not getting a shortlist is stressed, anybody not sitting for placements is also stressed, anybody who is not doing anything related to college and just preparing for UPSC is also stressed. We all are stressed people, we are millennials, that is something which just happens, right? So, and if you have, see, one thing that I think got me through college in general and until now, what has kept me going is one, having a very uh, positive group of friends with me who are like always there when I need something, when I want to vent out, or when I have to just talk about anything, people are there. And also having a mentor in life. I have been talking to a lot of people in general outside of the formal thing also, but this is something that I tell all juniors, because this is something which I think has brought in like a major shift in my life thinking, in how I go about things or everything. Having that one person who is not your parent, not a family member, and not even a friend, but a third person who is somewhere where you see yourself going. If you see yourself being a successful entrepreneur, maybe connect with an entrepreneur. These people are pretty open minded and they do talk to youngsters. um, and if you want to be somewhere, say in the policy space, if you want to be in the academia, talk to someone in academia, find that one person who you vibe with. This is not exactly relevant to the question that was asked, but I thought that this needs to be mentioned, that this is one thing which will help you get through a lot of things in life. They have been through the same process that you are going through. They'll be able to guide you better without any personal judgments or bias. So what worked for me was having the group of friends and a mentor, and of course a very supportive group of people in general around me that kept me going. Another thing is, what you need to understand is that all of us are what, about 20 years old, 20, 21 years old when we graduate. We are pretty young. We have a lot of time in life to do what we want. As Abhishek said, give your 100%. Yes, of course, give your 100%. If placements is something you want to target, and if you think that you are going to get a shortlist in, say, XYZ companies, give your 100%, try to convert it. But if it doesn't work out, just know that you will have a lot of chances to get there. It's not just this is it, just don't think of this particular cat attempt or this particular shortlist as your last attempt at anything. It is not your last attempt. A lot of people will tell you. As a matter of fact, I'll just share one more interesting statistic. So I've been talking to a few IIM seniors in the past few days, in the past few months, and one thing I got to know was that all of us are so excited to get into MBAs and IIMs. We are so sure that okay, finance or consulting is something we want to do. About 70 to 80% of IIM grads change their industry right after the first year of their graduation from an IIM. So everything is not as glamorous or exactly how it feels from the outside. Take your time, explore, go to different ventures, figure out if it's meant for you or if it's not meant for you. You've made it to SRCC, you've made it to an extremely good college already. So you have it in you to kind of put that extra push and give in that extra effort and make it to a better place as well. Just ensure that you have a good support system and that you are surviving in healthy competition. As soon as you start taking a lot of unnecessary mental anxiety, it will not work out. Something will fall off. So have your priorities clear, give your 100%. If it works out, mostly it will work out. If it works out, well and good. If it doesn't work out, you have more shots at this. Just consider that and take that time to analyze what went wrong and what could have been done better. So yeah, that's my piece of advice.
Yeah, as actually covered by Simran pretty well, I think I cannot emphasize much on the fact that it's extremely important to have a positive support system, to have a group of friends who are at your frequency level, who are there for you, and who are really positive. And it's going to be even better if you have friends who are doing the same thing. So if you have friends who are also preparing for CAT, it's a great it's a great asset actually, and it's a very good idea to study together. So I'll just tell you, for me, I had a couple of friends who were also preparing for CAT along with me. So we used to kind of study together at times. We used to discuss our doubts. We used to attend coaching sessions together. So this was a way for us to stay motivated throughout the preparation period and also not get bored of the preparation, because at times CAT preparation gets really monotonous. But if you have your friends who are doing the same thing with you, then you can actually turn that monotonous and boring thing into something which is a little more fun, and it just motivates you to keep on pushing yourself. So I think it's very important, as Simran rightly said, to have a great support system, to have a group of people who really believe in you and who are really positive.
Okay, thank you for answering all of our questions so well and so in detail. I think that's what we have from our side. The floor is now open for questions from the audience, and we'll put forward the same to the panelists, if any. We do have a couple. I'll start with the first one. Is there any number of specific marks that you should give to be good at CAT?
Uh, I guess there is no specific number. See, again, things work out differently for different people. If your target percentile is 99 plus, you are getting your target percentile after, say, a couple of attempts, couple of mock attempts, say after 10 or 12 mock attempts. Take a few more. What I would say is that you have to be consistent with mocks. So, what one thing I observed a lot of people do is that, they'll start preparing, say, a few months before. They'll go through their practice material, go to the coaching classes. They'll be regular, but they'll put off mocks till the last possible minute, which is something which is not recommended at all. So I guess start taking mocks when you start getting comfortable with the concepts, when you start getting comfortable with the curriculum, because they will help you bring in all that analysis that we just brought in, from our own experience. That okay, like Urvi mentioned, that there are a few concepts in quant which cover about 50 to 60% of the section. Now all of this you will start understanding the flow of the paper, the temperament of the paper better as soon as you start taking mocks. So just start taking mocks as soon as you get comfortable. Yeah, at that time I would say, okay, take one mock a week or maybe one mock every 10 days. And as and when the paper starts getting closer, increase that frequency, increase that number, so that you are really comfortable in that 3 hour frame. Your body is used to sitting in a 3 hour frame. Once you get your one thing that I did it before my board exams as well. Once I know that this is the time slot in which my paper is to be done, I'll go and I'll attempt a mock test in that same slot. So if I know that I am to attempt a paper in the morning slot, I will make myself comfortable at that time of the day as well. I mean, I think it helps. It again, it's different for everyone else, but this is something I did. You know, just a few days before mock, I knew that okay, I have the morning slot, so I'll attempt a paper in the exact same slot. So whatever time the morning slot used to run from, I used to attempt a paper in that slot, so that I'm very comfortable with everything around me. There's nothing new. So again, there's no number, as many as you can take, I would say.
All right, thank you so much. So there's another question. So is there something like a good CV is very important to get into like very high ranked business schools of the nation?
Okay, I think I'll just quickly take this. So, this is it does not really have much to do with your CV. So what you do is, whatever business school you're aiming at, just go to that business school's website and go to the admission procedure or admission selection section. And especially for all IIMs, they have their admission criteria mentioned in a sequence and the weightage they give to each criteria. So just see what all criteria they have mentioned. Usually the criteria that they mention are your 10th grade score, your 12th grade score, your graduation marks, and some of them give a little weightage to your course diversity, your gender diversity, and points for your work ex. These are broadly the criteria that mostly all business schools take into consideration. So just have a look at those things, and you'll yourself identify how many points you're going to get for what particular criterion, because they have clearly mentioned the grading scale and how what weightage they give to which particular criteria and how they score you on that. So these things are pretty clear directly from the website itself. Another thing that they take into consideration is your CAT, so that you'll know once your percentile is out. And other than that, there's about 30 to 40% weightage depending on the college, which is given to the personal interview. So your entire CV, your entire profile comes into play during the personal interview. So there are two things that can happen. One, that they don't even have a look at your CV at all. They just ask you questions during the personal interview and they just judge you on the basis of how you answer them. That can be one thing. The other thing that can be is that they look at your profile, they look at your CV. So they don't really look at the CV that we prepare for our placements. They just randomly look at your resume file, which has all the certificates that you've achieved till now and things like that. They just randomly go through that, and maybe that can add points to your personal interview. So I think from an MBA point of view, CV is not as important, does not play an extremely important role as it plays in your placements, because MBA admissions have a lot more things that are taken into consideration for you to be selected.
Yeah, and just to clarify here, work X is your internships that you do are not counted as part of your work X. Work X is just the job or like anything that you pursue after you complete your graduation. So any number of internships are not considered by IIMs. So when you fill your CAT form, you will get to know because they have clearly mentioned all these criteria. And as Urvi mentioned, that on each website there is like a clear list of what is it and in what, say if you have a 95% plus in 12th, how much score will you get on that criteria, so on and so forth. So all this can be referred to from there, and I just wanted to mention that WorkX will not include your internships. So yeah, that
Also,
is.
I just wanted to add one more point. So, guys, if you do not have a good GPA in college, try and get a good GPA. You still have fourth semester exams left for those who are in second year, and if you are in the first year, because GPA is something that do account, that the institutes do account while they are giving you calls for the interview. And it is possible that you might be left out for a call just because your GPA wasn't meeting the cutoff. So do check out the websites of the colleges that you are aiming for and what is the minimum requirement for GPAs that they have and what are the different points that they assign to different GPAs. And so this is a word of caution that people who do not have great GPAs or probably ignore college studies because of CAT or other things, please do not do that because even if you get 99.6, 99.7, you might not get a call from the top IMs just because you had a bad day in your 10th exam, 12th exam, or the graduation exams. I mean, it's a side fact, but it's a fact. So make sure that you work on your GPAs as well.
Yeah.
So the next question, I think we have a lot of first year students asking that if there's anything that they should do as first years, is there any advice for them right now?
Maintain a good GPA and explore as much as possible. Do not focus, um, do not just make one goal and pursue it. You have just come out of school into an excellent college with an extremely good peer group. Explore as much as you can. I am pretty sure there are options out there for you that you don't know of, and explore. By the middle of your second year or by second year, make a decision of your priorities. Again, don't make just one goal and like Urvi said, if there is a one goal, then just deep dive into it 100% and do it. But again, I would recommend at least even by the second year. It is ideal to do it in the third year or by the end of your second year, but even by the beginning of your second year, when internships start coming and you are just getting out there, you have just been comfortable with college. uh, just make a priority list, 1 2 3 4, keep on shifting those, keep on changing those as as in how you get experience, and talk to as many seniors as you can and talk to as many people as you can. There's nothing like a good network today. So I would just say that maintain a good GPA, do everything that this college has to offer. I mean, even if you can't do anything, even if you can't do everything, nobody can do 100% of everything in SRCC. It is such a resourceful college. Do as much as you can and take that experience and figure out for yourself. So yeah, don't just be sure that okay, MBA is the thing, that is what I'm doing. Have it on your priority list, sure, but don't just ignore other options, is what I would say.
Okay, so there's also a question that what is the required percentile for IIM A, B, C, and also FMS to get a call from them?
I think that depends on your profile, what your scores were in class 10, 12th, and in graduation. I'm assume that 10th and 12th would be 90% plus because you are into SRCC. And in graduation, at graduation, you have to see a score that there is gender diversity points that you have to take into consideration. And you also have to take into consideration the weightage that the colleges give to WorkX and to CAT scores and to the scores of 10th, 12th, and graduation. Like IIM Indore gives greater weightage to 10th, 12th, and graduation marks. IIMB gives greater weightage to your WorkX. So you have to look at those parameters, but a safe score for an ABC would be 99 plus, at least.
I think these were the ones that we found pretty interesting and not addressed in the session. I think that is all that we have. If there's any other question, then we'll wait for 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll wrap up.
I see a lot more questions in the comment section. If I think all of us panelists have time, we can take time to address these as well.
Sure.
If
Sure.
all of us have time, because there are a lot more questions. So I guess I'll just keep on reading. So any specific number of mocks we have answered. Should we avoid societies and stuff if we are very much focused about CAT? No, you should not avoid anything. You've come to an excellent college.
I think particularly in a benefit that our college offers is usually the societies, all of them wrap up by second year. There are very few societies that have posts in the third year as well. And CAT, you have to focus the most on CAT in your fifth semester, right? So I think in your first year, your second year, the third semester, all of these times, you can really focus on societies also. I think that you must as well.
Yes, and that helps you build a better profile for your CV. So you have also a backup option in the form of placements as well.
Placements, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing I mentioned about talking to more seniors and building that network, societies are like the launch pad to that. It is the first step to that, and it exposes you to a lot of good things. One question is, what is more preferable, MBA after graduation or MBA after 2 3 years of WorkX? I think all of us have different views on it.
Yeah.
So, in my view, again, as Urvi mentioned, a lot of people say that where you are, say you join a consulting firm from college, you join as an analyst. After 2 years, you become a senior analyst or an associate or a senior associate, whatever the position name is. If you just straight up join an MBA after graduation from SRCC and you get into a consulting firm from there, you will end up joining as that position that you are at after 2 years. But yeah, generally the observation is that the slope of your career is more steep with an MBA, and it's just that extra push and that extra cushion to you. They know they've hired an MBA, they know they've hired an IIM graduate or someone like that, so they view you from that lens. It changes a little bit. All of us, we are also just stepping into colleges again for our MBAs or preparing for interviews. So I don't think we are as resourceful people to answer, but yeah, that is something that we've heard from our seniors, at least what I've heard. I think all
Yeah,
the rest of us
so
can wait. Yeah.
yeah, so just a small thing like I'll be joining IIM Ahmedabad this year in June or July, whenever it starts. So one thing I've been hearing from people who joined last year in the batch, a lot of them have been saying that if you want to go into consulting or into finance, these two fields, in the shortlist that come for these two fields, especially I would say for the top consulting firms, the recruiters do kind of prefer a little work ex. So the people who have 1 year or 2 years of work ex, there are little higher chances that those people will get a shortlist. But again, for fields like marketing, the firms they prefer a lot of freshers also. So it sort of depends a little on which field you want to go in. If you already have that in mind, if you want to go into consulting, then I would say it's more preferable that you take 1 year or 2 years of work ex because that'll help you in getting shortlists once you are on campus in your MBA. Otherwise, I mean, it's fine. I mean, even if you don't have work ex, it's okay because I've also seen a lot of people who were freshers straight out of college and they got really amazing shortlists and placements.
Okay. Is there a fixed GPA in college which we need to score for getting a call from good MBA institutions? Again, brackets are there. Uh, Try to maintain, see, from a profile perspective, also, we always say try to maintain an 8.5 plus or an 8 plus, which is like minimum.
Yeah,
So
just
that,
check the yeah, and
yeah,
check the
check
websites for
website.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah, check. I think that's the best because it differs college to college, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but I think we have to wrap up.
Yeah. I think we are done with questions as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So as we come to the end of the session, I'd like to thank all of you panelists for taking time out of your schedules and sharing your insights with us. It was indeed very enriching, and we hope that it will be beneficial to the entire batch.
Thank you so much for having us. It's
Thank you
been a
so
Thank you
pleasure.
much.
guys for organizing this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The insights were really valuable. And lastly, we would also like to thank all the attendees for joining in. We hope that we were able to provide you with some insights. So take care, guys. You may leave the meeting. Hope you have a great day ahead. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Hope this was helpful.
Yeah, and you can always message us or
Message
call
us, reach
us.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
reach out